Well, hello world, Joshi Master here again, going to tackle another interesting subject matter called ethical non-monogamous, or person who believes in ethical non-monogamy, which is probably the most redundant, asinine thing I have ever heard. So I'm going to try to dispel this created, categorical, falsified perception and tackle it head on. So basically, a person who considers themselves to be an ethical non-monogamist is somebody saying that I can sleep with anyone I want and not have any consequences, and that it's ethical. How does that make any sense? That is probably one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life. And what you're constituting and what you're teaching is that it's okay for a person to cheat on another person in a relationship. Whether you realize it or not, that's what you're doing. And you're setting an example for your children to say that it is okay to destroy and create a destructive relationship, which is probably the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And it's becoming widespread. Women are starting to get into this mind frame and set that it is okay to promote this, and it's destroying relationships, marriages, friendships, any type of anything that creates a bond or a constitutional bond for a person to enjoy a friendship or enjoy some kind of collaboration or some kind of connection with another fellow human being. And I don't agree with it. If you are an ethical non-monogamist, I would love to hear your commentary down below as to what prompted you to get into this in the first place. If you can give me a reasonable, logical explanation, not based off of subjective opinion, but as verifiable factorial evidence to prove that it actually works, I'd love to hear it. But I guarantee you're not going to be able to come up with anything, and I'm going to tell you why. It's because what you've created is a purely subjective content matter that is an illusion derived from a particular movement of third and fourth wave feminism to try to promote their ideals and principles, which are very destructive. Destructive not only to the individual who's being taught them, but also to the society that it dictates and annotates to. So I want you to take a hard look at yourself and question yourself as to why you started getting into this in the first place. And I'm willing to bet that it's probably because you were in a toxic relationship with an abusive individual or individuals, and you don't want to have to take responsibility for that. Because I'm going to tell you something. If your boyfriend or husband was toxic and he's abusive to his children and you cut him off, I completely understand that. That makes sense. Because you don't want them to be exposed to a volatile person like that. Totally understandable. But if the father wasn't toxic, abusive, or alcoholic, or hurtful in any way, shape, or form, your kids are going to resent you and hate you for the rest of your life. Because you are basically cutting them off from a portion of their developmental progress and not allowing them to become fully grown, developed human beings. Because if a father is prevalent, there's a high probability that the kid's not going to grow up with sociological or developmental problems, depending on what kind of environment the child is grown to. The other thing too is that is the expulsion of the father from the family unit, and that creates a very toxic and insidious environment for the kid to grow up in. You know, I don't know what's being taught in colleges or in education anymore, but these kids are becoming malformed, reduced rubble and cannon fodder. They don't know how to think for themselves, and it's becoming a contributing developmental problem. And they're becoming sociologically, physiologically, and psychologically impudent and nihilistic and destructive. So of course it's not a surprise that these kids are lashing out or they're having these problems, because they're missing an element in their growth and their developmental growth. And it needs to stop. And it's becoming a cancer, and it's starting to spread to children and to women everywhere. So if you're a person who has self-actualized developmental attitude. You're free from the political rhetoric. You're not being manipulated. You're not being swayed by other people. And you're able to conceptualize a better idea and principle. Leave a comment down below and help move these people away from these negative inceptions and ideas that it's being counterproductive to the individual themselves, because it is starting to take a foothold in the minds and in the spirits and the bodies of women and children alike, and it's starting to become, it's a form of mass manipulation. So what they're doing is that they're seeing that the person is hurt, the person is that their mindset is not right where it should be, and they're taking advantage of it, and they're utilizing that person when they see that they're weak and that they're in a not safe environment, and they use that person and manipulate their emotions. And I'm totally against that. So if you have the ability to reach out, spread this message. I don't care about subscribers, I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about truth. I care about truth, personal development, growth, and so that way our society and people can be able to establish their own free thinking capacities without having to be limited to perceptions. What I mean by that is that these people are principled, developed, and able to think based off of the teachings of the ancients: Confucius, Chuang-Tzu, Lao-Tzu, Sun Tzu, Socrates, Plato, Epicles, Hippocrates, Socrates, same guy, Voltaire. Such free-thinking individuals will help you grow and help you to be able to rationalize logically, and that you'll be able to turn negative thoughts and processes into something that you can contribute to society and not against the society. Because we're starting to create lewd and illicit conduct, and non-free thinking individuals are becoming swamped and masked with inceptional ideas that are spreading like a virus. And I am doing my best to try to counteract these things. I do promote marriage. I promote kindness and compassion, but at the same time not delving into the bullshit. Because there's two factional sides going on right now between both. Even within the feminist movement themselves, they're tearing themselves apart. They're attacking people who have nothing to do with their movement, and that only creates a toxic and hateful individual. And I want you to think for yourself. Don't just simply follow something because someone tells you it. Don't be sheeple. Question it. If it doesn't promote something that is good and prosperous and helps to develop you as an individual, it is only going to be self-defeating. This is Joshin Master, kicking ass, taking names, and trying to make a difference one person at a time. And remember, don't be stupid. Think for yourself. Use wisdom. And question all things. Rock on. Joshin Master out.